Hi, this is Sebastian Bach, and you're watching the Deevision biography!
I think Dee is the greatest and most energetic frontman in rock and roll.
Linebacker.
Yeah, right.
I would describe Dee as the definition of the word intensity.
Huge.
He was one of the most intense frontmen that I've ever experienced in my life.
Loud.
One word, outrageous. He's everything that rock and roll should be. He's rude.
Fuck yeah!
Obnoxious. Exciting. Dangerous. All rolled into one.
He's the only guy in the world who could like wear pantyhose, big puffed out blonde hair and makeup and have all the bikers in the world love him.
He's burly, man. Twisted was a big influence on me and a big influence on many people in my generation.
Well, shit, are we rolling?
We're rolling, babe.
I don't know, his whole vibe was just so ballistic, you know, and just totally was straight in your face.
The guy's a fucking nutbag, because that guy's just out of his mind.
This is Sebastian Bach, and you're under the blade. Whoa! No, you're not. You're just watching Deevision.
Hey, it's me, Dee Snider. Welcome to my show.
This ain't the same old story. Why the same old song and dance? Don't think of faded glory, 'cause you won't get a second chance. I want to tell you something. I'm someone you can trust. You better take a good hard look, 'cause every time our business does, yeah, no more for hesitation, and the red of fantasy, in the blood and motivation. I already know before you say what you don't know, so get right now. When you dance and then you scream, when you don't know, so get right now. What you don't have, when you dream. Ain't me a crucifixion, ain't me a flowers, but don't let me influence you. I'll do that what was done. Oh, are we so hated? Oh, are we breathing on your nerves? Don't you know that's a good Lord? Never get what they deserve. What you don't know, so get hurt you. What you can't see, make you scream. What you don't know, so get hurt you. What you don't know, when you dream. Your brain is filled with questions. You don't know how or why. Don't look to me for answers today, 'cause I don't want to. know when you dream what you dream.
I put together a project called Dee Snider's S.M.Fs. And basically I looked for 4 guys who were Twisted fans, who I knew who would be excited and fired up to be on stage playing Twisted Sister music with Dee Snider fronting it.
In a lot of ways, the S.M.F thing for me is the ultimate cover band, because I'm playing with the ultimate frontman, doing his own songs, you know?
Say, I'm sick, motherfucker!
The S.M.F show, to me, is the most rocked out thing he's ever done, because he's playing with all these cats that are very hungry to play.
I'm a sick motherfucker! Ah!
I found 4 guys, and we went out and we started playing.
We're all competent musicians, you know, we do our homework, we just walk in, we might brush a couple of cobwebs off at sound check, and then we do the show.
And it's a blast, you know, you go out once in a while, clubs are packed, people are having a great time. One thing I keep saying at these shows is to the audience is, if you stop smiling, it's making it hard for me to be mean. Because in the old days it used to be, yeah, and now everybody's like, yeah! You know, it's a lot of, because they're so happy to see this, to hear these songs that they grew up with, and to see Dee up on stage kicking ass.
If you're ready to kick some ass, I'm Dee Snider, and we're the sick motherfuckers! The kids are back! We walk the street in tatted armies. We got the lion in the heart. When I'm looking for trouble, just for us apart. But we're all ready if you want to start. Something that kids are back. The kids are back. Oh, watch out. The kids are back. Well, can you blame us for living our dream? Just look around and you'll see why. We don't want to follow the same routine. Maybe it's for nothing. We're gonna try. But remember, kids are back. Kids are back. Oh, watch out. The kids are back. Look out. Now there's no problem, no need to fuss. We ain't out to stop your fun. Happy birthday! No man is asking, 'cause we gotta know. How can we stop it when you haven't done? 'Cause remember, kids are back. The kids are back. Oh, watch out. Just remember, the kids are back. The kids are back.
interesting thing about the shows is the age of the audience. The audiences are, I thought they'd be older, but they run from like 20 to about 40. Twisted was around for about, from 1976 I joined. So we have fans in the Northeast who are now in their 30s and 40s, but the Twisted Sister that became the commercial success had a lot of 10-year-olds who were buying Twisted albums. Well, now they're old enough to come to a club. So you've got half the audience, you know, who are doing the Beavis and Butthead bit, you know, doing all that traditional headbangers, and you got the younger audience that are moshing and slam dancing and stage diving, and it's freaking the shit out of the Beavis and Butthead crowd, because they're not used to being kicked in the head with a Doc Martin at a rock and roll concert. They're freaking. So it's pretty interesting to see this cross section and to see this, again, this younger Gen X audience who are really getting, for the first time, getting a chance to see Dee Snider and hear Twisted music live.
And they taught me there's only one way to be. For life, not for a while, not when you're young, not when you're a child, for fucking life. Once you're a sick motherfucker, always a sick motherfucker. Now do I have any sick motherfuckers here tonight? And the rest of you, well, I used to be. No, it's still in there somewhere. Beneath that business out exterior, beneath that nice dress and that fancy haircut, inside is the heart of a sick motherfucker. And how do I know that? 'Cause you're here. 'Cause you're here with these fucked up people. There is something wrong. There is something seriously wrong with anybody at CPI watching Dee fucking Snider jump around like a fucking nut at 1 o'clock in the fucking morning. There's something wrong with you. And that's just the way I like it. So don't hold back. Don't hold back. We ain't gonna finish till the last person standing tonight. The last person standing wins, and that person is gonna be me, and it's gonna be you, and it's gonna be you. It's gonna be every one of you crazy motherfuckers out there. No one's going nowhere. The party just started. And right now, we're gonna do one from the Under the Blade album. It may not be the heaviest song ever written, but it's fucking close. It is called Destroyer! You got hands! Heels up! Fiery stare, and all those and destroy. You've been drawn into the center of your town and come upon a mass of steel that cracks the very ground. Prepare to meet your judge. Don't think to run away. Just put your face hold no disgrace for the deadly age. Destroyer! 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 Heathen! Destroyer! 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 He's in town! Oh, he's in town! You better stay out of his fucking way! He's gonna kick your ass! Yeah!
The S.M.F. project has been really well received and with a lot of enthusiasm. I never really saw it as a very serious project, and I appreciate people's excitement about it and enthusiasm for it, but I still don't see it as a vehicle that I intend to do big things with.
What I think of Dee as a front man,
Dee Snider he becomes this bizarre, crazy rock and roll character, you might say, that he turns himself into. And the amazing thing is, he needs no other influences to do it. He needs no drugs. He needs no alcohol. He never did. And he just has a natural rock and roll adrenaline that flows through him that is real.
Well, he's a gracious, very intelligent man. I can't say any more than that. I mean, I think those two things are all you could ask of a human being, to be gracious and intelligent. I think if they go along together, you've got yourself a pretty good person.
He's the best front man, you know? I mean, when you go see a band, you want to see somebody that's giving of themselves, you know? Not just up there kind of like doing you a favor, you know? Dee Snider gives everything he has into every single performance he gives. So, to me, that's what being a front man is all about.
This one was Twisted's first hit record in England. It's called I Am. I
Twisted Sister before Dee was in the band. So I guess I met Dee in the mid-'70s when he was like the new singer in Twisted Sister, probably.
There was this club in Aberdeen, New Jersey, which is not very far from here, called the Fountain Casino. And we used to sneak in there when we were like 15 years old and stuff. Matter of fact, Charlie, who plays drums for Dee, was the guy who got me in there.
A buddy of mine, Kenny Wallace, took me down to the Fountain, much like I took Snake down. He snuck me in the side door. And again, I remember walking in and not really knowing what to expect.
They would play these huge nightclubs and these concert halls and selling out like 3,000 people, and it always blew me away. And they would release like 7-inch singles and whatnot.
It just evolved, you know. They started doing their own material, which Dee was writing, and
they just came out, and Dee was so, you had no choice. You had to pay attention to him. You just had no choice. You know, he was so commanding when he was on stage.
I don't know what it was. Just one time I saw him, I think it was at Lemoore in Queens, the one in Queens, and it was just like all of a sudden he became bigger than life. I don't know if it was the hair, which he did blonde at the time. And it was just something about it that I just said, wow, this cat's a monster, you know. This is going to happen, you know. I always believed in that band.
People always ask me what my favorite Twisted tracks are, and I have great difficulty choosing because as the sole songwriter for the band, I never presented anything that I wasn't in love with. But of course I could still select certain songs. Under the Blade has a real special place for me on account that it's pretty much the first song I ever wrote. And I think it's the song that defined Twisted Sister and defined Dee Snider early on. And it's one song that I've played at every show that I've ever played, whether it's been with Twisted or Widowmaker or even now the S.M.F. project. I play Under the Blade every night.
All right. So people were asking for this one. It's like the first song I ever wrote. And it still fucking holds up. You boys ready? So it's called Under the Blade! You know you're not going home tonight. Me and Jack or the witch doctor, the mind. The winner and the way you'll find. Can't escape from the baby when your time has come to accept Here we go, baby! Let me see your fist in the air! Born in the alleyway, know you're all
one of the best nights of my whole life, you know, musically or otherwise. To see Dee take the crowd and literally turn them into the mush that we were, you know, in the palm of his hand from the minute he stepped out on stage was a real education for me in what it means to be a front man.
The first time I ever saw them, I was expecting them to wear garter belts, but then of course they chickened out because they were in England.
Good blowjob.
And yeah, great blowjob. And they chickened out, so we could only see them in their ripped tights and things. But it was quite entertaining, you know. I went out and introduced them because they were so petrified with fear.
Let me tell you something. Dee Snider, Twisted Sister, Rat, 1984, was a great thing. It was interesting because at that time, at that moment, we were just breaking the West Coast, they were breaking East Coast, and we got into this thing to where Twisted and Rat had to like do like these shows like, well, if Rat's playing with Twisted on the East Coast, and Twisted's playing with Rat on the Midwest, not even West Coast, we made it happen.
Dee was a local icon. I mean, you know what it was like back in the 70s and the early 80s, man. Twisted was it. They were playing like cover tunes at Hammerheads to 2,000 people a night, 5 nights a week. They were just fucking huge before Atlantic Records.
I Wanna Rock, another one of my favorites, partly because it's one of our biggest hits, and also because it has a certain longevity to it. The song, it stays with you longer. We're Not Gonna Take It had a real fast burn. It hooked people very quickly, but after a while people got tired of it. I Wanna Rock, you know, once people got into it, it just has staying power.
I wanna rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock. Turn it down, you say, oh, I gotta take you, and I'm not gonna say no. No, 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 no. Tell me not to play, all I gotta say when you tell me not to play, I say no. No, 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 no. Oh, what you after? I'm not the way I'll take it. There's only one thing I'll say to you, I wanna rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock. I want to rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock. There's a feeling that I give nothing, nothing, there ain't nothing in the world that make me go. Go, 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 go. Turn the power up. Waiting for so long, so I can hear my favorite song, so let's go. Go, 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 go. What did I get? Nothing else. I'd rather do. I wanna rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock. I want to rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock, rock. I want to rock, rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock, rock. I wanna rock. I want to rock, rock. I wanna rock, rock. I wanna rock, 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 rock. I wanna rock, 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 rock. To rock, 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 rock. I wanna rock, 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 rock. I wanna rock. Don't you fucking forget!
The first time I met Dee Snider was at the record plant in Los Angeles in 1985. And he was in the studio and he had just filed down his teeth to look like a rat. And I thought, wow, this guy's really dedicated to what he's doing. You know, I would never do that myself, you know.
We had a lot of fun times on the road. We did things that if you had close brothers and sisters that you really wouldn't do, but we did. The camaraderie amongst the 5 band members and some of the road crew was unbelievable. We would just be laughing and do stupid things, but you know what? That was the most important times of our life because we gelled together and we bonded.
I think Dee Snider, he was and is a great entertainer. Lem knows him a lot better than me, but we did some shows with him and they were great.
I'm a youngster. I mean, I was 15 or 16. Twisted came out, burly. Dee as a front man is burly, front row, balls out, all attitude.
He embodies an element that probably every great performer, singer, writer, actor, artist has. That's what separates the great ones from the good ones and the mediocre ones. And that is an ability to see the world strictly in black and white and not in gray. And that works to one's benefit when one is seeking to place himself above everybody else, because when you see the world in black and white, it forces the world to be either with you or against you. And that dichotomy creates greatness. Mediocrity just creates, yeah, they're good, they're okay, and Dee really brought in a black and white as opposed to my way of doing things, which is more gray, I guess, maybe more of a politician. And Dee didn't see it that way. So that intensity, that manner of putting blinders on your head so you are facing one direction for the sole purpose of a goal where nobody would prevent you from making it, is the trademark personality trait of great artists, and that is definitely what Dee embodies.
You Can't Stop Rock and Roll was a very important song. Again, a defining song for Twisted Sister and a real statement about, you know, my worldview and the band's worldview.
Here we go, you know you're talking. attack. I'm glad to face the light. And you can run it high. And you can ride the wave. Lift up your hands and sing. You can't stop rock and roll. I don't hear you, come on. You can't stop rock and roll. Scream for me. You can't stop rock and roll. Can't stop me. Can't stop. You can't stop me. Can't stop. Can't stop me. Can't stop. You can't stop me. Can't stop. Can't stop me. Can't stop. You can't stop me. Can't stop. Can't stop me. Can't stop. You can't stop me. And you can't stop Dee fucking Snider either!
I think Dee is a funny guy, period. I think Dee can get up there and do a new shtick every night and be great, you know. I used to kind of get down on him because he'd be you know, ragging on some guy at the back bar, watching the band like that, you know. But I know when I go to a bar, that's what I do. I'm at the back bar checking out the players, you know.
I see some people here in the front with the dots in front of my eyes, but I can't see you. Do we got any kind of lights to turn on the audience? Any lights for the audience so I can see what's going on there? Yeah. Where are my friends? Where are my friends? Where are my friends?
I always loved the way he'd yell at people if they weren't paying attention to him and listening to what he was having to say. You know, snapping at him, screaming at him.
And you people in the back, you're my friends too. Yes, even you. You dead motherfucker with your fist in your ass. Right? You know, you is with like this, you. You're my friend too. I love you, man, even though you're fucked up. And later on, I'm gonna spend some real time telling you just how much I love you.
You know, I played 200 shows with the man, and every night during his rap, I'd sit on the side of the stage and listen and laugh my ass off every night. He's just absolutely priceless.
Because my friends like to hear how much I love people who stand around with a broomstick in their ass, acting like they're too fucking cool for everybody else in the place. My friends love to hear what Dee thinks about people who think they're better than everybody else. They love to hear. They want to hear. They want me to express myself openly and freely. You've got about 5 songs before I roast your motherfucking ass. We had an album called Come Out and Play. I'm gonna do some songs here for that record right fucking now. Are you afraid of things that go pop in the behind closet doors? Of things when you turn out the don't be afraid of the there's a light in the dark. Burning bright. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of darkness. Gonna be safe inside of love. Are you okay? I'm mighty free. Right on, come, for me, I've been in the dawn. the leader of the pack. One day of dancing, find someone new. She had to tell me that we were through. I stood there and asked her why, but all she could do was cry. I'm sorry I heard you, the leader of the pack. She was so small, as she kissed me goodbye, her tears were beginning to show. And as she drove around every night, I begged her to go slow. If she heard, I'll never know. I believe in rock and roll. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of rock, and to the monument for which it stands. What do you think I know one God? God loves rock and roll, for liberty and justice for all land. Every day I work so hard, every day I'm down the card, every day I'm doing exactly what I do. Every day I lose control, every day I rock and roll, every day ain't gonna have time to see me through. I believe in rock and roll. 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 Do you take this music to be a laughing and wetty rock? I've been holding sickness and in hell. For richer up or poorer, for better up or worse, together until death comes to yourself. Every day I'm so hard, every day I'm down my card, every day I'm doing exactly what I do. Every day I lose control, every day I rock and roll, every day ain't gonna have time to see me through. I believe in rock and roll. 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 This one's for the PTA. Being cruel to young school. Nothing may ever be another. Being cruel to young school. In the name of rock and roll. Being cruel to young school. Like a sister or a brother. Being cruel to young school. In the name of rock and roll. But I don't think I'll make it through another day. It ain't a clock game, all ain't well. My brain hurts so much it's starting to decay. I'm living in a private hell. Need somebody tell me this would be so great. Be the best thing I ever had. Something never told me not the way. Second rate, something so good gets so bad. Hey, I gotta know, hey, am I slow? Where do I go from here? ABC, 1, 2, 3. Being cruel to your school, 'cause you may never get another. Being cruel to your school, in the name of rock and roll. Being cruel to your school, like a sister or a brother. Being cruel
created almost a genre all by himself. He was a presence bigger than life. Twisted Sister, especially in Long Island, you know, and in the New York area, was so important. Nobody's ever forgotten that. I mean, you're talking about another icon, but Dee's been very important. Also important in a political way, in what he did during the times when Tipper Gore was trying to dump all over us. He was there shoulder to shoulder with Frank Zappa, saying things for us that was very important. So Dee's been important musically and important politically too.
The Senate hearings with the PMRC, in the legend, you know, it's a great part of my legend, so to speak, but it was definitely a damaging experience. When I was asked to testify before the Senate, I thought it was a pretty cool thing to do, and I was proud to carry the flag, so to speak, be the first one on the front lines of the battle. I fully expected the other bands and the fans to join me in this crusade, this valiant fight against censorship and against people trying to dictate the terms of our music. When I got there, I found out that I was left to hang out to dry, that the other bands were laying low, which was a smart thing to do, as it turns out. The fans were apathetic about the whole issue. They didn't realize how significant this issue was. And I had my efforts turned against me. Other artists, you know, talked badly. I'm being nice about it. But they basically gave me a lot of shit, saying that I had decided to be the voice of heavy metal, that I was speaking for heavy metal. If they'd bothered to pay attention, I clearly stated on repeated occasions in the hearings, I cannot speak for any other band. I am only here to speak for Twisted Sister. I certainly was not trying to represent anybody but myself. Fans found that that me being as honest and straightforward as I had always been about you know, about not doing drugs and not getting high, about being raised a Christian, still adhering to those ethics, being a dad, having a kid, they thought that that wasn't cool. If any of you are viewing this, fuck you. I dictate what cool is for me. But I definitely was held against me. You know, I wasn't out driving around my car killing people like some other rock and roll stars. So that was in terms that I was uncool. And then the kicker was that parents decided that Twisted was a scourge of the earth and literally wouldn't let their kids go to our concerts, buy our records anymore, or purchase our merchandise. I remember after a Twisted Come Out and Play show, I saw a kid backstage. It was a fanatic, and he was all over me, and he was wearing the Dokken shirt. Now, there's anything wrong with Dokken. So I said, "Where's your Twisted shirt?" And he said, "Dee, my parents don't know I'm here tonight. If I wear a Twisted shirt, they'll know where I got it." And I said, "Boy, this is great." I said, "You know, I've become something misrepresented. I've been misrepresented by this whole thing, and everybody's basically using this as a reason to turn on Twisted." And we became a scapegoat. MTV banned one of our videos, "Be Cruel to Your School," which they said was too gross. It had a horror elements in it, and too disgusting for MTV. And this was a video coming out after Thriller, where, you know, Michael Jackson had zombies with their arms dropping off in the video. So, I mean, it was obviously just MTV tipping their hat to the political powers, saying, "Oh, yeah, well, we'll throw you Twisted Sister. They're your bad boys anyway." And MTV knew we weren't the worst of the bunch, and everybody knew Twisted wasn't the worst of the bunch. Rebellious, yes. Despicable, no.
Hey!
What's the first fucking verse of this thing? Oh, somebody want to help me here? What's the first verse? What? No, that's not the first verse. What's the first verse? What? No, that's the other part. Nobody knows the fucking words. Okay. What's the first verse? Oh, what? Tried and jaded? Is that the first verse? Does anybody on the stage know the first verse? Oh, fuck it. Just take it from the whoa whoa part. Okay? From the whoa whoa part. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa! Sing! We're right, we're free, we'll fight, you'll see. We're not gonna take it. Oh no, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. We're not gonna take it. Oh no, we ain't gonna take it. We're not gonna take it anymore. Do it. We're not going to take it. When I said it has a fast burn, I meant during the success of the song. You know, it came on the radio, people loved it, they reacted to it. After the song, after its hit period is over, the song definitely has a warm spot in people's hearts and minds. I feel it was one of those songs that is forever linked to certain people in the summer of 1984. So yeah, the song has longevity in that regard. Yes, the Yankees have used it. A number of people have used it. Green Day was playing it in concert for a tour out there. And so, I mean, I think that when you look back on the history of Twisted, it is certainly the most remembered song and the defining song for Twisted Sister.
That's fucking better!
The success that Twisted Sister had came as a total shock to me. When we had hit records, I was stunned. When MTV, when our videos caught people's imaginations and crossed over to all ethnic groups and age groups, at first I definitely felt like this was vindication, that we were getting what we deserved. To me, this was a dirtbag in high places, you know. Going into expensive restaurants, I didn't like the food, but just did it because it was like these people would never open their doors to me. Now they're kissing my ass. I felt that I was every headbanger out there, having the opportunity to do things and get places where normally they wouldn't allow us to go. Boldly going where no headbanger had gone before. but people thought that I was, mingling with the stars and had become a Hollywood and too straight going on these mainstream TV shows and what have you. And when all age groups started liking the band and appreciating the band, you understand why the hardcore fan is abandoning you. At the same time, you just wish you could grab each one of them and go, it's still me, man. Nothing's changed. It's still Dee, it's still Jay, it's still Twisted Sister. It's just that everybody's gotten turned on to it. And half the reason we're turned on to it is because you jammed the phones at the radio station. You called MTV and demanded the video. You carved our logo in your desktop and wore that t-shirt till it was raggy. You spread the word. You're half the reason why this thing has exploded. Unfortunately, the fan on the street doesn't see it that way. They see it as selling out.
You want to hear more music? You want to hear more? If you don't want more, get the fuck out. If you ain't into it, get the fuck out. If you're not enjoying yourself, get the fuck out. If you're not a sick motherfucker, you heard him.
Well, we did the Under the Blade jam at the Tradewinds in New Jersey, which is a lot of fun, and we did The Price at the Birch Hill in Jersey, which was also great. Great lyrics in The Price, too.
All right, listen. There are songs that I've written that haunt me, The words haunt me. I wonder if I lived up to the expectations. They haunt me. This is one of those songs. This song, I hope it means as much to you as it still means to me. This one's called The Price.
Because I posted before Love Is for Suckers that I was angry with him. And so I claimed for his art that would be like a no type. I thought, well, that's admirable. He could have stayed on Sal, kept making a lot of money, and did a solo project for some reason he wanted to do it.
the real Dee left. So I was going to forget. This is neither drummer. It'd been all me.
And then when the band's popularity started to wane, it was like, well, our shows aren't selling, our records aren't selling, and we don't like being around each other. Why should we stay together anymore? And in fact, you know, and basically we just, I left, and the band never officially disbanded, but just never did anything after that.
All right, anyways, all right, this is a track from the Love Is For Suckers album. All right, here we go. This one is called Wake Up the Sleeping Giant. Join with the band. Together we're stronger. Together we'll stand. Say, what can you do? Well, we got a plan, and we're gonna take you to the promised land. It's time to remember. It's time to push on. We took it too long. They don't know what they've done. If it's a fight that they want, then it's a fight that they'll get. Well, we never lose, honey. That's something. We are the choice, we are the say. Who the hell are they to say what we can do, how we can play? We got the numbers, we got the right, we got the strength, we got the night, we got the reason, we got the right, we got the sleeping giant. Not one more minute, not one more day. We're waiting too long and then a mess in the way. It's a right to remember, it's a right to fight back. No matter the truth, let's end the attack. We go on ahead. It's gotta stop and do my mistake. Who the hell are they to say what we can do? How we can fly? We got the number, we got the right, we got the strength, we got the night, we got the rhythm, we got the might, we got the sleeping giant. Well, we got the number, we got the might. We got the sleeping giant. So let's push through a home. We've been good too long, they wouldn't leave us alone. They're building, it's a fight to fight back. Right in the truth, let's stop the attack. We got the numbers, we got the right, we got the strength, we got the night, we got the reason, we got the right, wake up the sleeping giant. Well, got the numbers, we got the might. Well, we got the sleeping giant. Well, we got the numbers and we're ready to fight. Well, we got the sleeping giant.
I was happy to be out of Twisted. I felt a weight was off my shoulders, and I knew where I was going. I wanted a new entity, and I wanted that entity to be more musical than theatrical. And so I went through a number of stages with a band that ultimately became Desperado. Desperado really came to be when I found the guitar player. None of the guys in Twisted were traditional guitar heroes. I wanted a hero, and I found one in Bernie Torme. When we hooked up, we started writing. I saw where this band was going. I saw the elements we needed, and we went in search of some other players. So we tracked down Clive Burr, and he was totally into it. And then we tried to find a celebrity bass player, but we found ourselves sacrificing quality just to get a name. And eventually we just decided to work with somebody who Bernie had played with on some occasions, bass player Mark Russell, who wound up being the bass player in Widowmaker. Originally, Desperado was signed to Elektra Records, sort of a continuation of my, not Elektra, Atlantic, was a continuation of my existing Atlantic deal. I was able to get out of that, and then there was a small bidding war going on for the project, which Elektra Records wound up picking up. Now, Desperado had been together for a year already, and now we signed with Elektra, and we started the year-long process of rehearsing the record, putting all the pieces together. The whole project was 2 years in the making. Atlantic spent money on the project, must have been about 100 grand in development. Elektra spent another $500,000 on the project, and then 2 weeks before the release of the record, I was getting ready to leave that weekend to go and shoot the first video for the album, which was to be called Ace. Elektra Records shelved the project. Because of my experiences with Desperado, a lot of the anger that I had in the Twisted days had returned. And I didn't know exactly where I was going, didn't have a name, started assembling players.
Dee was back to square one, and I said, well, look, if you're doing it here, just count me in, you know.
And the project that started as a Torme Snider project became a Petrelli Snider writing project.
Even Widowmaker, at first Widowmaker was still going to be Bernie. You know, we still didn't have a guitar player. I suggested Al.
So he asked me to kind of just come in and play on the record and sub for Bernie, and then as you know we started writing and getting on a little bit better, he asked me to be a permanent member, and that was the end of my career as I knew it.
For working on the Widowmaker first record, which is probably my favorite record I've ever done, we did some of those songs without headphones, let alone without click tracks. You know, we just went in and rocked, you know.
We were actually starting to build a head of steam with the first Widowmaker album, and we toured a little bit on that record, and that was that. I do believe that if we were starting to build that, we would have built that record to a solid selling record, which would have been a great springboard for Widowmaker's next record. We went in and we did Stand By For Pain. Now, Stand By For Pain, the band at this point had been together, I guess, 4 years. We had toured together, we had been friends, now we knew each other. And when we started writing this record, this album was written and recorded, mixed in 4 weeks. It's one of the best records I ever did. There's that energy, that immediacy, and that album really is the debut Widowmaker record. For the handful of fans that we have out there around the world, they deserve another record. We have another record in us, maybe a live album as well, and we intend to go and do that. I do a lot of things. What I'm doing is I'm creating life after rock and roll for me. You may have heard I had a radio show called Dee Snider's Metal Nation, and we were trying to get that syndicated. I have a line of clothing called S.M.F. Approved. You know what S.M.F. stands for, but I tell the straights it stands for Snider Manufacturing Firm, and anybody who tells them any different is dead. I work with vice president of alternative marketing at a toy company called Balzac Incorporated. This is a Balzac ball. This is a cool one because I picked it because it's black and has skulls on it. And it's like a balloon you can't break. A lot of fun. My kids dig it. We make these horror heads and put a balloon in them and inflate them, and you've got the horror head balls. We came out with the fly babies, and they're nasty little buggers too. And I dig them. You notice any resemblance? I write movies. You remember the Horror-teria, Captain Howdy, and Street Justice at the beginning? Well, I had plans to do more, and I wrote a movie called Helltown. It is a terrifying piece of work. I'll just tell you, it is like anything that has been out there before. It is the new wave of horror. I have totally departed from the slasher film and moved into a whole new world, and you will be very proud of me. I cannot tell you more about the film other than Captain Howdy has a very strong look, as strong as Dee Snider's look was in Twisted Sister. Captain Howdy, Dee Snider's look as Captain Howdy in Helltown, which I will be starring in, obviously, is as strong. Also, I wrote a sitcom that's called The Sniders of Great Neck, which is based on me and my family, an 80s heavy metal rocker trying to deal with raising a family and fitting in the 90s. Yeah, I blend. We want to open a restaurant called Dee Snider's Horror-torium, which is a horror theme restaurant. We've got 2 locations picked out. We're trying to close that. I'm producing a show on Broadway. I know it's getting insane, right?
I would love to see Twisted get back together, but I love Dee on his own as well.
But Sister was such a special band who were only Twisted Sister. They weren't like anybody else. I'd like to see them perform.
I think a reunion wouldn't be a reunion with anyone else but the original 5 people.
He's Dee Snider, man. He needs to be back on stage threatening to kill everybody nightly. You know, that's when he's happiest.
As far as Twisted goes, I know there's interest in a reunion, and like I said, I'm sure something is going to happen, and it probably won't be too long before it does. When, where, how, I don't know. The specifics, stay tuned.
What I think the future holds is that Twisted Sister is probably most likely going to do a reunion tour. I'd like to see it happen, and I'm going to try my hardest to get this thing to happen.
The book is not closed. There probably will be another chapter to be written, and only time will tell when we're going to start to write that chapter.
Everybody join me! Yo! Louder, louder, louder! Yo! Give it to me, please! Yo! I need it louder! Yo! All right!
Obviously, as far as I see it, my future is very bright and very interesting.
Let's take a pace. Shoot!